Step 1, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Who need to hear this, but let me put this out here. Stop sparing folks. Hello, somebody. Stop sparing folks. Nobody cared when your feelings was hurt. Nobody cared when you was pacing the flow. Nobody cared when you was sliding down the wall. Nobody cared when you was standing over there with a face full of tears. You had to suck it up, buttercup. But then when it come to other folk feelings, here you are. Want to tiptoe around it. Want to avoid the elephant in the room. I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to disturb the peace. Stop sparing folk. Ain't nobody spare you when it was your turn. Give it to them real. Give it to them raw. Give it to them uncut and uncensored. This is exactly what it is. This way you had me messed up at. Yeah. I ain't playing with nobody this season, baby.
Back here real soon.
So apparently, if you treat people like they treat you, they get upset. Shocker.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Crystal Rogers is a mother of 5 beautiful kids that went missing on the July 4th weekend in 2015. Her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, came under heavy scrutiny about her disappearance back in 2015, but for whatever reason, the case went cold. Well, this particular case just heated up most recently in September with the very first arrest of a gentleman by the name of Joseph Lawson. This is an employee of Brooks Houck. Brooks Houck was later arrested after Joseph Lawson, and the case kind of died out. There was some major shocks in the case when the state prosecutor, Brooks Houck's bail hearing, tells the judge that his brother, Nick, might have been the one that shot Crystal's father, Tommy Ballard. If you're unfamiliar with this case, Crystal is a beautiful young lady that disappeared in 2015, and her father went out looking for her and searching and was probably finding evidence about what happened to his daughter. Well, during a hunting, what many thought was a hunting accident on Tommy Ballard's property, he was shot to death. And apparently during this bail hearing for Brooks Houck, it was alleged that his brother, Nick, may have killed Crystal's father.
Today in court, prosecutors said they believe they have the gun used to kill Tommy Ballard now, connecting the investigation with the death of his daughter, Crystal Rogers.
Waiting for testing to come back on the firearm we believe was used to murder Tommy Ballard, a firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Houck, who was using a fake name when he sold the rifle.
This case has a lot of twists and turns, and that's not it. In 2013, an officer was ambushed. His name is Jason Ellis. And people are starting to feel that this Jason Ellis is connected to this particular case with Crystal Rogers and Brooks Houck. So now we have 3 people arrested in connection with the death of Crystal Rogers, although her body has not yet been found.
A third person is indicted in connection to the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. Steven Lawson was just indicted on conspiracy to commit murder. Joseph Lawson was also indicted earlier this year on conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence charges. Then Brooks Houck was indicted on murder. Rogers went missing in 2015, but her body has never been found.
Joseph was first arrested in the case earlier this year. Right now, Steve Lawson is in jail in Harrison County, Indiana. He'll be extradited back to Nelson County for his arraignment later this month.
Pieces falling into place 8 years after the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, the mother of 5 from Bardstown, last seen alive 4th of July weekend 2015. Now, 3 men have been linked to her death, believed to have happened that very same weekend. Joseph Lawson was the first arrest. Brooks Houck was second. Now Steve Lawson marks the third, a name not new to the investigation. In fact, it was first mentioned just months after Rogers was reported missing inside the Nelson County Sheriff's interrogation room.
Police arresting Steve Lawson today. The Nelson County grand jury indicting Lawson on 2 charges, conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Adding to the whirlwind few months it's been in the unsolved Crystal Rogers case.
But everyone is excited. This has been a long time coming.
Police say they can now tie a third person to her 2015 disappearance, charging this man, Steven Lawson, with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence.
Like everybody, we just want justice for the Ballards and for people to pay for the crimes that they did.
All right, guys. So good evening. Good evening, all of my people, my beautiful people of YouTube. Nice to see you this evening. Nice to see you. So I see it's me, Jen. If anybody doesn't know, it's me, Jen. She is a little loopity loop. Nobody pay attention to anything she has to say. Whatever it is, just don't pay it no mind, okay? She had a little bit of surgery. If she says some off-the-wall stuff, just remember, anesthesia does the numbers on some people, okay? So, I got a new button. I know how to use it. how to use it. Sonia is in the house. Look at that. Our beautiful sepsis. She's been going through a bunch of stuff too. Shake off the ick. Shake off the ick. Big Mac Mike is up in the house. Hello, hello, hello. Brittany, Blue Eyes, nice to see you. Bullhorn Betty is present. Connie, it's nice to see you, Love Bug. Who else do we have? We have our beautiful B Betty, Betty fan. Big hug and kiss from me to you. What else we got going on here? Oh, Mama Llama has made it over. It's nice to see you, love. Nice to see you. So we are going to be going through a little bit, as many of you guys have been walking through this journey with me in the Crystal Rogers case. You know, this kind of started out for our group about 2 months ago, when we learned that one of our subscribers was family with Crystal Rogers. And so I just happened to cover the case. There was some new breaking news. It was one on the down days, and it came across my desk, and I kind of looked under the hood a little bit. I mean, it's, you know, a normal case. So I thought, right? So I figured just a run-of-the-mill domestic violence case. Boyfriend kills girlfriend for a variety of reasons. No harm, no foul. And that's just not the case. So we've got some information tonight, that's for sure. We got an idea of what it could be. We got an idea. We're getting close to the connections. We're getting close to the connections. Mel C, it's nice to see you. Sweet Misery, big hug and kiss from me to you. Lola Flo, it's nice to see us. It's super loud. Well, just turn the music down. I don't know if it's loud. I've got my monitor volume up. It might have to do with that, but I was having audio issues like literally right before I got on here. So I tried to adjust them lickety split. So some days are better than others. So that's why we all have volume buttons. If it's a little too loud for some, turn your volume button down. If it's a little too low for others, please turn your volume button for up. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So it's nice to see you all here this evening. Lady 7 Up. Hello, hello, hello. Unicorn, Indiana. It's nice to see you. And I think we're getting close. You guys have been talking back and forth. That's for sure. I just want to see Jana. I'm probably saying that all wrong. Jana. I don't know. You're probably laughing at me right now. I don't know. Hi, how are you doing? It's great to see you this Monday evening. Lordy, Lordy. I need help. Gigi for life. It's nice to see you as well. Vermont girl. It's nice to see you. Old Rusty up in the house. Fragile like a bomb. Love it. Love it. Fragile like a bomb. If you want to know who does my merch, I get my merch done by Teespring. However, Sonia is in the house. She does a lot of custom stuff. If you want to do some custom shirts, she's the person for you. Nice to see you, Florida girl. Nice to see you. So when we started down this journey, what we learned is really about Brooks Houck. Okay. Hey, Granny T, nice to see you, Love Bug. It was really about Brooks Houck. You know, this is a case that we read. It was from 2015. I knew when they had arrested him, from one of the very first things, I think, and you guys would know better than me, right? But I'm pretty sure one of the first things I said is, this doesn't sound right. We're probably going to find there's some political connection. You know, I always believe that there's some type of influence, so to speak, about this particular case. I caught on to that like really way up front when we first started talking about this. So since then, we've learned, because at one of the hearings for Brooks Houck, the prosecutor stood up and told the judge that his brother Nick, they feel may be responsible for Crystal's father's murder, because Crystal's father was also murdered. Well, along this little journey, we kept hearing this name, Jason Ellis, come up. And Jason Ellis is this upstanding Just one of a kind, really good all-star of a police officer. Just has an excellent demeanor, has a very good work ethic. From everything you hear from the people that knew this man, talked about how genuine and kind he was. He had a loving wife. It seemed like they had a great marriage. He had children. So it's really sad. And then we learned that this guy was ambushed, and we're thinking, how in the world can this be connected to this case? So we really, as a group, haven't really discussed Jason Ellis. And we just recently started looking at the Jason Ellis case and trying to figure out how in the world it has anything to do with Brooks Houck. But before we get to the Jason Ellis case, let's focus on Brooks and Nick and this situation, because we really still don't know what the reason Brooks actually killed Crystal for. We don't know. Is it because she was leaving him? Is it because she knew too much? If it was it over the custody of her kid? We heard from a lot of people that the mom, the one I call mafia mom, she looks really, really evil. Her overall appearance just it doesn't make me feel comfortable. Okay, I don't know what it is about her, but she to me looks very evil. I don't know why, and I don't like being judgmental, especially somebody you haven't really met or anything. But I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at these prosecutors and listening to what these prosecutors say, and I'm sorry, but I don't know if I really need to meet her to determine that she's probably not a good person, especially if she has two sons that are capable of murder. If that's the case, I have to think that that was a very dysfunctional household. And she's probably not a very good person, because normal parents, I mean, every now and again, you might, it may not be your fault. Like for me, I mean, we had a lot of trauma in my childhood, and yeah, I'd like to blame everybody for all of my problems, but you have to take personal responsibility, right? So, but some people don't realize that you got to take personal responsibility. So these boys, in my opinion, were probably very entitled people, and they probably had a lot of trauma. But you don't go and shoot people, So I'm learning about the Steven Ellis case because it is kind of linked to this whole situation with Tommy Ballard, which, as we heard, prosecutors believe Nick is responsible for. And obviously they have Brooks, the other brother that was dating Crystal, in jail right now for her murder. And they just, and so Joseph was arrested first. Joseph was a person that worked for Brooks Houck early on. He was one of the first, probably the weakest link. They probably had something. They had something on that guy. I don't know what. They've got him for conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. So they believe he had something to do with the physical evidence. During this process, we started listening to Brooks Houck's interview with the police. I think that was on July 8th. 2015, and he made a couple of statements that did not jive, that you knew was lying, because at the beginning of the interview, he was talking about how Crystal was with him going back to the house and in the vehicle with him. And then when we get closer to the end of that, this is the first time that we hear this name, Steve Lawson. Steve Lawson is Joseph Lawson's father, Joseph Lawson being the very first person that was arrested. And so in this interview back in 2015 with Brooks Houck, Steve Lawson is heard calling in, or Brooks was calling him. I can't remember if he called or he called back or something like that. But he puts the phone down on speaker. It almost sounded a little rehearsed, if you ask me. But, take my opinion out and just say that, it was a casual conversation. And he was asking him why he was calling him that late at night. And so he said it was something to do with a rental property, and that he had to get a hold of whatever the name he said before Crystal, like Courtney or something with a C. And you hear Brooks pipe up and say, "You mean Crystal?" And he's like, "Yeah, you said you needed to call her, and you'd call me right back." And so that kind of did him in, because told law enforcement that she was with you. And now you're telling us that the time that you said that she was with you, this guy calls you about a rental property, but you have to call Crystal to ask her for the number and you'll call him back. Why couldn't you just turn over there and ask her? It didn't make sense. So that's like one of the first big holes in Brooks's statement. But again, that was back in 2015. They determined she was deceased by October. She disappeared on the July 4th weekend, and by the October, she was deemed deceased. I would have assumed that Brooks would have been put in jail by then, but he wasn't. During this time, Crystal's father started investigating this case, and he was ultimately shot on his property. Law enforcement believe Nick did that. Now we go back. Now it's time to rewind. So back on May 25th, 2013, before any of this, before Crystal, before Tommy, there was a case related to Jason Ellis. Obviously, law enforcement has linked these cases together somehow. They're linked together. And so we keep going over how these people are linked together. And when we're going over how it just doesn't make any sense. How are these connected? Well, as we're learning through Nick Houck's interview with police, and he took this particular interview was on July 15th, 2015. So 1 week after his brother was interviewed. And when he was interviewed, this is by the time the chief has now gone to his house. They've already collected his car. And now he is down there and he's giving maybe I shouldn't give that statement because I can't remember now if it was that one or when they brought him in for his polygraph, because we did 2 of them yesterday and I can't remember which one it was for. So let me back that up. Either way, he was down there and it was just absolutely mind-numbing. God bless those detectives interrogation, because Nick was the most uncooperative, nice guy I have ever seen in my life. And it just made me almost want to reach through the screen and just smack him around. Like, I am serious, like literally slap the face. It was just mind numbing. He just goes and he knows nothing. Now they're talking about she disappeared July 4th weekend, which I believe was July 3rd, but she wasn't reported until July 5th. He's in there giving an interview. So you're only talking from the time she was reported missing 10 days. 10 days, okay? We're not talking about 10 years. We're not talking about 10 months. We're literally talking about a 10-day window. That man doesn't know what his nephew looks like, doesn't know what his brother's girlfriend looks like, barely sees her, she wouldn't know him unless he's in his patrol car. He goes out to the farm, but he never sees his brother, never speaks to his mother, doesn't know nothing, doesn't know why he's here, doesn't know why he's there, can't possibly think why they think he had anything to do with it, because he knows nothing. He doesn't even know what his own mama looks like. I mean, that really is it in a nutshell. It really is. And so it was the most not mind-numbing thing. But one thing that we got out of that, is that law enforcement was focusing on this trunk. They wanted him to identify everything in his trunk. They wanted to make sure it came out of his mouth. They knew what was in that trunk, but they wanted him to say, because he kept saying, so you just had normal stuff in the back of the trunk. Nothing was there that shouldn't have been there. Nothing that shouldn't have been there was there. You know, please describe. Like they kept pushing Nick to say whatever is in the trunk. And so as soon as he said blanket, we're like, something's with that blanket. Something's with that blanket. Something's with that blanket. And we couldn't figure out what it was with the blanket. And so we were everybody was kind of pulling in here almost organically, trying to decide or figure out what could possibly be on the blanket. Some said fluid, some said blood, some said other things. And then we learned that, was it I can't remember if it was this interview or if it was no, I think that this is when the two guys were still there, because I remember the Smurf comment. So now I can remember exactly which one it was. So this was the first one, the interview on 7/15, and they start going through what was in his trunk, and they tell him, look, your trunk lit up like a Smurf. Like there's body fluid in your trunk, period. There's no way you can get body fluid in your trunk unless you have a body in there, unless a body's been in there. That's the only way you can, get fluid in there. So that's when we started getting a hint that, wait a minute, this guy it sounds like he might have been responsible for moving the body. Well, during that interview, we learned that he actually worked with Jason Ellis. At the time, Jason Ellis was killed because they worked on second shift, which is an odd shift. It's 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I'm sure it's probably 1:30. They probably don't do a lunch. I don't know, but it's the shift's 4 to 2. It's 4 to 2. And so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on Jason Ellis before we start talking about his case, because I did get some information, and I truly do believe we have some insight on Jason Ellis and the connection to the Houcks, because it's going to go back to the interview that Nick had with law enforcement. And I think that is going to be what ties this in together. So just bear with me. I just want to let you guys know how good Jason was. Okay. He deserves that one. He deserves that one. So his background is Jason served on the Bardstown Police Department since 2006. Within 3 years, he received the Governor's Award for Impaired Driving Enforcement in 2007 and in 2008, and was awarded Officer of the Year in 2008 as well. 2008 was a big year for the rising police star because Jason became the department's only canine officer in 2008 when he partnered up with his canine. What is it? Figo? I think it's Figo. So Jason Ellis was 33 years old at the time of his in the line of duty murder, which claimed his life on May 25th, 2013. So this is where we kind of come down to what was the connection, because, I was looking at 2 possible connections, and to me, it sounds like there might be 3 possible connections, but I think we are going to be on the right track here in just a second. So we've been talking about the last few days, the 2 possibilities that I could think of, right? The possibility of it being a love triangle, which I think, based on everything we know about the relationship between Jason and his wife, it just doesn't seem probable. Is it possible? Yes, but it doesn't seem probable that either one of them were going out on each other, that there was any type of love triangle. There's no evidence to support that claim, so it almost eliminates that as a possibility, because you got to think, what type of person would want to ambush somebody? Matters of the heart. Definitely, we know that that's definitely a recipe for disaster. We've seen it all the time. We cover it on here absolutely daily, these love triangles that become murderous. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that is a possibility. But it's not probable. So for me, the way my mind works, I'm moving that aside. So it really only left organized crime, but there was one element that I missed. Which brings me to the third option. Now, I don't know if it holds water. I still think I'm onto something with the organized crime. I don't think it holds water, but it is a possibility that I did not look at. So here's when I was reading the background of Jason Ellis, and I thought to myself, he really did work very, very hard. He was being noticed, right? He was being noticed by the governor of all people, the governor. And you've got a Houck, a wealthy Houck. Now, granted, obviously it's mommy's money, right? Obviously, Brooks has his own, but for Nick, it's mommy's money, right? You think that it's almost like the Murdaugh, seeing a Murdaugh work at like McDonald's. It's like you can't believe it, right? So you got a Houck working at the police department there. And they have this new guy coming in, and he's just a rising star, hitting all the markers, just this outstanding officer. And he's kind of overshadowing Nick. What about Nick's political aspirations? Or what about Brooks' political aspirations? Could this be old-fashioned jealousy? Old-fashioned jealousy. Because let's face it, after he was murdered, Brooks did run for office, right? If an office was open, how do we know that Jason Ellis wasn't going to make a bid at that seat, being the rising star that he was, already being recognized by the governor? Never thought about that aspect. But when I was reading his background, I'm like, wait a minute, we have this, we have that. So, we all know that Nick worked for it, but we know that this had to be an inside job if Jason Ellis was murdered, because he was ambushed. How can you ambush somebody? Like, there was a few things that was going on this night that threw Jason Ellis's schedule off. Yet he was still able to be planned and executed. So how is that possible? I think that's where Nick Houck ties into all of this. He worked with Jason Ellis during this time on his shift. He would have known that he was running late. He would have known that he had made a caller that night and he needed to take his bad guy to the Bardstown jail. He would have been able to alert people, whoever those people were that were helping with that ambush, to let them know that he's on his way. He's now left the station. That is a possibility. But if that happened, why would the Houcks get involved? Why would another police officer named Nick Houck, put his neck out? None of this makes sense. What is the connection? Why is Jason Ellis associated with the Crystal Rogers case and the Tommy Ballard case? How in the world is this ambush related? It comes to a part in the interview with Nick Houck when he talks about this property and how his brother owns that property. Without a doubt, his brother paid for it. But it's in his mother's name. And I started thinking there for that split second, I'm like, I did wills, trust, estates, bankruptcies, divorces. I mean, it was the most boring law. It's some of the very first law it was the very first attorney that I had ever worked under, did the most boring law in the world. I understand why it's hard to keep good help. It was boring. Okay. I mean, it was awful. I hated it. God bless that man. He just, God bless him. But I hated the work. I did not like it. I couldn't, But anyways, in wills, trust, estates, and bankruptcies, this is all about, estate planning, so to speak. So because you work really hard for your money, and the government wants to take that money from you. Okay. Let's just put it like that. And so if you don't have what's known as estate planning, the government definitely has their hand all up in your Kool-Aid when you die. So all that money you got, you can say 50% bye-bye to the government, right? So people know this. And so they do, if you're making $30,000, nobody really gives a crap because you probably only got $1,000 and you break that in half, it's $500. Somebody's lucky, okay? It's a lottery day for someone, okay? Lottery day for someone. But when you get up into the millions of dollars, you don't want that tax burden. You want your money to go over to your next of kin, and you want it to pass to them as inexpensively as possible. So the idea that a younger person would purchase a property and put it in their mother's name just doesn't bode with astute financial common sense. To me, that doesn't make sense, right? Maybe to another person, you don't understand that. I get that. But when you have that kind of money, you're not going to, you would be better suited putting that into a trust than another. So it felt very underhanded how the whole situation works. And I was already getting a hint or feeling like there might be some type of laundering of money when it comes to Brooks, because I just found it odd that mommy has money. Nick had tried, right? Nick tried to have a rental business. Nick tried to do certain things. You know, Nick, he seemed like the putz of the family. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but he didn't seem like the go-getter, the beasts the Houcks are. You know, Mama Houck is, you know, Mafia Ma. You know, she looks like she could take your head off with her eyes. Then you got Brooks, which is, you know, he's doing very well for himself. He has over $8 million in assets. And I keep trying to figure out how in the heck he was able to obtain his own wealth to that magnitude. And so I'm thinking organized crime. You know, this is the canine. Jason Ellis is the canine officer. You know, is this, or this has a hint, you know, I'm sniffing organized crime. I didn't know what type of organized crime. I'm thinking drugs. Drugs and money laundering, right? I'm thinking of drugs and money laundering. I have no idea what kind of organized crime they're in. Well, we're going to have to walk through this a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple videos and we're going to get there. The next video that we have is Jason Ellis believes that they are connected, that these cases are connected. So we're going to walk you through, and we've got I've got 4 videos, and then I got the connection. And it's been out, but we've been asleep at the wheel. But I got the connection. And I know that if I haven't been following this case, many of my audience members haven't been following this case. This is a very bizarre case. This feels so much of Alec Murdaugh's case is in this case. It feels like that. The whole case stinks to high heaven. And I think there's financial crimes involved. And we do know the IRS was on scene. So I think we've got a winner chicken dinner. So stay tuned as I bring you guys all up to speed. I will be stopping this stuff here and there to chat about it. Here we go.
Now at 5 on WHAS 11 News, our coverage on the big development last week, and one of the top mysteries in Bardstown is continuing here tonight. In Nelson County, there are 4 families waiting for answers in 4 different high-profile cases. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Shay McAllister. One of those families got big news last week with an arrest in the Crystal Rogers case, but her family isn't the only one paying attention.
Do you feel like an arrest in Crystal's case is bringing you closer to some movement in Jason's?
I think it's hard for us because there hasn't been a lot of new information on Jason's case from the very beginning. We've kind of been at a standstill from the beginning. For us, there's a possibility that the cases are connected. And so for us, that makes us very hopeful that if they can make traction on one, that it'll bring answers for others. But then also, it could not be connected. And then where does that leave us when there's not been any new information on Jason's case?
Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis was killed on his way home from work in May of 2013. Investigators called it an ambush, describing purposefully placed tree limbs right on the highway exit that lured that public servant from his vehicle before he was shot and killed. Well, today in an interview you'll only see here on WHAS 11, I sit down with the Ellis family.
What were they even doing there? I don't know. Messing with mom, obviously.
For this family, photos are sacred, bringing them back to better times.
There he is. That's Jason.
Memories this mother
that's when he went to the police academy.
hopes to never forget.
Oh, my little boy.
It's been a while since you guys have sat down to do an interview. Why did today feel like an okay time?
I definitely think it's time to talk about him more. It's been 10 years with no answers. It's been 10 years with no arrest made for his case either. So I definitely think it's time to start speaking up and almost demanding the answers that I think we deserve.
In between her daughters, Jason's sisters, Pam Deerwester puts it simply.
The bottom line is Jason was a good guy.
A good guy they want to see remembered for who he was, not how he died. Something they say will only happen when his case is closed.
There is some momentum happening in other cases. We're kind of getting that boost again to feel a little more confident that time could be coming for answers.
Investigators have never fully linked Jason's case to Crystal Rogers, but in 2020, the FBI told us they believed answers in one Bardstown case could lead to answers in others. The family agrees.
It's hard to not go there though too, because there seem to be similar people connected to each case.
So news of the arrest in Crystal's case was welcomed. It was also surprising.
It's hard not to be caught off guard though. You know, you scroll Facebook or pop on the news and then it's all these developments. An investigator can't even call me and tell me that this is kind of coming down the pipeline.
What's your communication like with investigators on Jason's case?
That's probably been the most disappointing part for us because we don't hear anything. Outside maybe the first couple of months after Jason was killed, it's kind of been radio silence.
They're in Kentucky, we're in Ohio.
Right.
So we're not easy access like maybe Crystal's mom.
Do you guys ever go to Bardstown for any reason?
We were just there not too long ago.
Yeah? Yeah. What's it like when you visit?
Loving. They're very open arms with us and very loving with us.
I definitely think there's also an eerie feel.
It is. That's what I was going to say.
There's a lot of new people we don't know.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And you feel it.
It's odd. You feel the dark cloud and the tension.
For Lacey, Jason's baby sister, there's a reason she feels that way. Some lingering questions about who might be behind her brother's death.
What police officer's case is still open in the United States? It makes me think that they don't want it solved. They're burying stuff under the rug. And
or there's
too much that's going to come out.
Yeah.
I actually kind of believe that a little bit.
And that's what makes me nervous.
The one thing they're certain of.
We know the FBI isn't not fully on Jason's case, but I think there's more going on behind the scenes than we even know.
And they hope when answers do arrive, they get all of them.
We want to make sure that when this goes down, everybody who was responsible have to answer for it. We deserve it.
Yeah. I think we all deserve it. I think everybody in that town that has lost somebody deserves it.
Kentucky State Police is the lead on Jason Ellis's case, but the FBI says they're accepting and working tips on all of the Bardstown cases. You can report information anonymously at
That is right. She said all of the Bardstown cases. Sorry, guys, you caught me. I'm having a candy addiction right now, okay? It's a sugar thing I go through at least once every 3 months. Don't shame me for it, okay? I'm only human. I gotta have sugar. So, anyways, there's five unsolved cases. There's 5 unsolved cases in Bardstown right now. 3 of those we're discussing. And I keep wondering, I want to look in the other 2. I need to find the names of the other 2, and I want to look at them too. I mean, this is a small community of 13,000. They have five unsolved homicides right now. So that is them feeling that this case is kind of connected. You know, they feel like it's connected. I just want you guys to see a couple other things. This is what a former agent speaks out about, what may have led the FBI to the arrest of Brooks, because I truly believe they found something. They've done a lot of deep digs, right? You know, in Nelson County, a lot of deep digs. And what do I mean by deep digs? They brought in heavy equipment and dug craters in parts of land. Craters. These things are huge. So whatever they're digging at, they know is down deep. Deep. You know, that's all I can tell you. And that's just based off of the information that we've been receiving from the local news out there. So whatever it is, it's deep. It's deep.
That landed Brooks Houck behind bars. So we want to talk about the FBI a little bit, and we're going to bring in WDRB's Conroy Deluche. You spoke to a retired FBI agent. The FBI took over Crystal's case about 3 years ago. So tell us, why now? Why an arrest 3 years later since they took over Crystal's case?
And they took over the case 5 years after Crystal Rogers was last seen alive, 5 years after that investigation began, which means that it was a lot harder to find and process any evidence that they were able to find and recover. And when I talked to the retired FBI agent, he says they must have found something. More than 2 years ago, the FBI went digging.
And you have to go through every square inch of that with fine-tooth comb, literally.
Sonar equipment, backhoes, and canines focused on this property in the Woodlawn Springs neighborhood.
It appeared that they found items of significance that were sent off to the lab in Quantico.
Doug Coons retired from the FBI in 2018 and now is the CEO of an investigative firm. In cases like this involving cold evidence, he says results take a long time to process.
It's possible that something from that search will lead to this next step.
At this point, we still don't know what the FBI uncovered from those searches. But earlier this month, Joseph Lawson was arrested. Coons speculates that previously missing piece, plus additional interviews and advances in technology, led to the charges against Brooks Houck.
So the investigators have to come up with enough pieces of that puzzle. It doesn't have to be the full puzzle, but it has to have enough to it that a judge is going to say, yeah, I think you've got enough here, I'm going to sign off on it, and then the arrest is made.
As the case heads to the courtroom, we'll learn more details of what the FBI recovered.
It'll be interesting over the next few months to see how this plays out and how strong the case is.
But Coons cautions, just because there is an arrest, this case is far from over.
I believe that. I believe this case is far from over. I mean, this case it's got so many twists and turns to it. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes completely left field. I mean, it's already going left field, but I mean even further left field. And I mean that with all sincerity as well. So here's just a 42-second clip. Believes the gun. This is we've already seen that in the video that I produced at the beginning, but I wanted you guys to see this because this is Brooks' mother. This is Brooks' mother.
And as the courtroom emptied, we had some questions for Rosemary Houck, Brooks' mom.
Rosemary, the special prosecutor accused you of violating Kentucky law today. What do you have to say about that?
Your son's involved in the deaths of.
Did your son Nick kill Tommy Ballard?
Rogers. Anything you'd like to
Did your son kill Tommy Ballard, Miss Houck? Is there anything you'd like to say?
She didn't stop to provide any answers about her son Nick and the.
I'm sorry, that lady looks evil to me. She looks mafia mom. She looks evil. I'm telling you, when I seen her the first time, I said, there's something, she ain't a good lady. Look, guys, you might not like a lot of things, but I'm telling you, I see people. I don't know why I see people. I'm telling you, this lady right here gave me all types of bad vibes. But it wasn't really till Nick's interview, the 7:15 interview, that started letting me see, hey, rapper, it's nice to see you. Letting me see kind of inside of the, the family a little bit. And he's trying to say he doesn't talk to anybody. I just don't believe that he doesn't talk to his family. I don't believe when she went missing, he never even asked his brother a darn thing. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it. His story is unbelievable. I don't know, wasn't there. Don't know what anybody looks like. Don't even know, I don't even know if I wiped my butt this morning when I took my morning, what. So he's just totally unbelievable. And then you see this mother, and then you hear about these things, and then you're wondering what organized crime they're in. And you just keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper and saying, how in the world is this Jason Ellis involved in the Crystal Rogers and Tommy Ballard case? And you keep digging and you're like, what in the world is going on here? And then I stumble across an article about the case. This article was actually not done from too long ago, but I think it holds water. Because listen, it makes sense. I'm going to read it to you. It's going to all start clicking in. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron named Commonwealth Attorney Shane Young as special prosecutor in the investigation into the death of Jason Ellis, Crystal Rogers, and Tommy Ballard. So we know just by this, they're connected. Even if we can't see the connection, they're connected. I think we're going to find out the connection in just a few. Sit tight. The Kentucky Attorney General's office made the announcement in January 2023, just 3 months after Ellis Memorial was vandalized in October. Does it surprise you anymore with humanity this day that a fallen officer's memorial be vandalized? It's just, it doesn't shock me. But you know what? It should. That's the sad part. It should shock all of us. Sad. Police have since offered a reward for $1,500 for information leading to the arrest of the vandal. During the season finale of Oxygen, The Disappearance of Crystal Rogers, an anonymous prison inmate spoke with reporter Stephanie Bauer and retired homicide detective Dwayne Stanton to share information he claimed to know about the murder of 33-year-old Bardstown police officer Jason Ellis. Ellis' fatal shooting in 2013 was the first of 4 recent unsolved cases involving 5 victims in Bardstown, Kentucky, including the 2015 disappearance of Crystal Rogers. A 7-year veteran of the department and a member of the K-9 unit, Ellis had just gotten off work on May 25th when he was driving home and encountered a stack of freshly cut tree limbs blocking the ramp of exit 34 off Bluegrass Parkway. After getting out of his police cruiser to investigate, Ellis was ambushed and shot multiple times with a 12-gauge shotgun. In the 5 years since Ellis' murder, police had interviewed numerous people of interest connected with the case, but none of the leads had ever resulted in an arrest. Though the inmates claim that Ellis's death have yet to be substantiated by law enforcement, Bauer or Stanton opened their own inquiry into the details he provided. The inmate told Bauer and Ellis that Ellis was shot because he was too close to an investigation of a ring of storage shed burglaries and business burglaries. According to the inmate, the burglarized storage units contained high-end antiques and drugs. The inmate also said at least 4 men were hired by an unidentified person to carry out Ellis's murder, but the inmate did not disclose how he knew them. When asked why this information hasn't come out before, the inmate explained to Bauer that the men involved were eliminated and someone had tied up loose ends to keep the investigation quiet. Bauer and Stanton later visited Ellis's family to see if they could shed light on the new information. Though they were unable to verify any of the inmates' claim, Ellis's family contended that they always thought there was more than one person involved in the shooting. This belief, however, has never been shared with them or confirmed by law enforcement. The Kentucky State Police say they are looking into the inmates' claims about the case. Now, a scenario like that would make sense. And it brings me back to Joseph Lawson and Steven Lawson, because I'm like, you know me. I'm thinking, who do you trust when you want to murder somebody, right? Who can you trust when you're wanting to whack somebody? Like, if I got to that point, I trust no one, right? I literally trust no one. I don't know anybody that would trust somebody to help them move a body, help them cover up evidence, or anything like that. If I got to that point, which I never will go to that point. I will never go to that point. I know I will never go to that point, right? But if I ever did, I would have to do it alone. I don't trust anybody. Listen to this. We believe, because let's face it, law enforcement believes that Crystal's body was in the trunk of Nick Houck's car. That's basically what they said in a nutshell without saying it, right? How did you get body fluid in your car, right? Your back of your trunk blew up like a Smurf. Do you know how you get body fluid in the trunk of your car, sir? A body's got to be in it. Right? So if we think that he had Crystal, that's his brother. Now, my family would never call me to help him move a dead body. Because I just tell them no and turn them in. You don't want me being your partner in a major crime. I sing like a bird. I'm one of those snitches that get stitches, right? So, anyways, so we have to assume that night he called his brother. Okay. His brother's trunk blew up like a Christmas tree. It's either that or Brooks went over and stole his brother's patrol car. It's one of the two. But we know two other people have been have been charged in connection with Crystal Rogers' case for conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. I can understand the brother, but these two employees had to be pretty freaking loyal to Brooks Houck in order for him to call them, of all people, for help. Who calls their employees for help? The brother, I understand. The brother you grew up with. The brother you've known your whole entire life. The brother I see. The mother I see. Any family member I can see. But to call two employees, how would you know that those employees would have kept their mouth shut? You just killed a woman. You would only be calling the people you trust and confide in the most. So what if it's Brooks' ring? Maybe, how about if it was Brooks making all of that money that bought him all of that stuff through this major organized crime ring hitting businesses and storage units? Do we even know what those were worth? How much money was in that? How much money was stolen? That money would have had to be hidden, right? It would have had to been washed. It would have had to been laundered like a cash purchase under mommy's name. Just saying. Just saying. I don't know. You guys tell me. But if we're going to talk about a connection, and they are connected, it's organized crime. I bet you anything, these robberies were what was making Brooks Houck rich. I really do. Let me see what you guys got going on here. Betty's just saying, as I'm popping Skittles in my mouth. I got an orange tongue. They seem to put an awful lot of yellows in this batch. An awful lot of yellows. I don't know why. My tongue should be purple or red. My tongue's yellow. Right? My tongue's yellow. Good. All right. Quit being so unprofessional, Betty. All right, I will quit. Whatever. Kathy and Samantha are the other two. Kathy. Oh, the Netherlands. I heard about that. I don't know anything about that. You're right. I heard a daughter and a mother and a daughter came here from the Netherlands and were killed. That's just odd. Well, it was a mother and daughter, right? Brittany. It wasn't like sisters. I could have sworn it. I remember hearing it was a mother and a daughter, but it might have been. I don't remember. My brain's not. It's late in the day. Don't count me on anything. Literally, don't count me on anything. So, what do you guys think about the theory? Because we were listening to it. We started piecing this whole, possibility of it being organized crime. But hearing this, now we're seeing the organized crime take effect. Think about it now. This makes sense as to why the IRS was involved. This makes sense as to why the IRS was at those storage units, why the IRS was pulling stuff out of his house. The IRS is involved because there's some money laundering going on here. There's some washing of something. And I think it's these robberies. And I think that maybe, listen to this. What if, I mean, we don't know. But what if Jason Ellis, the nice guy that he was and all. I got Skittles hard candy and I got Skittles gummies. I'm going on a complete Skittles meltdown here. Taste the rainbow. Oh, no, their last name. Oh, the Netherlands. I thought maybe that's what I was getting confused when somebody sent it to me, is I just assumed it was that they were from the Netherlands when they said Netherlands in there. Just like I assumed it whenever you put it in there. I haven't looked into the case literally at all. But tell me about it. Yes, mother was a teacher. Okay. Was she local? Actually, let me look it up. The heck. Let me just look it up. I was wondering, somebody had sent me that to look into the Netherlands. It might have been you. I can't remember. And I forgot all about that. Because I'm like, what the hell do people from Netherlands have to do? I make mistakes too, right? Glaring imperfections. Give me the ma. I don't know why I can't see your comment anymore with their names in it. I don't know what the hell. Let me just put the Netherlands in here. Bardstown. Hold on. Put my Skittles down. There we go, mother. Let's see what this says. So this is, we have three. So we have Ellis, Rogers, Ballard. And then we have, actually, this looks like 14 too. So we have Ellis, Netherlands, Rogers, and Ballard. So that's 5. So this is done. No. Murdered inside their home on April 21st. This was almost a year to the day. Almost, because he was killed on May 25th. May 25th, 2013. So this was almost 11 months. But this is what it said. It says Kathy and Samantha Netherland were murdered inside their Ballard area home on April 21st, 2014. Kentucky State Police troopers Scott Sharp, then a detective, was on the scene and vividly remembers it. When you're talking how brutal, it's disturbing. Any case you work that you see violence. Evil is evil, Sharp says. The fact that the investigators, it just seemed personal rather than a random act. But Kathy Netherland was a well-liked special education teacher, and Samantha, a member of Bardstown High School academic team and chorus, was just a 10th grader. The question of not only who, but why have haunted investigators for almost a decade. I cannot stress how many man-hours these investigators put in this case, and they eat, sleep, and breathe it, Sharp told WLKY. But a week after the murder, state police released an image of the car they believed the suspect was driving. It was a black Chevy Impala captured by surveillance videos at a gas station about a half mile from the Netherlands home. At the time, they believed that could help solve the murders, but nothing ever came of it. It did not come to fruition like we thought hoped it would. So it is disappointing, but that's not going to deter us from doing what we need to do, Sharp said. He is now the public information at KSP Post 4, and he thinks about the case often and about justice. There's nothing more I want before I leave this job than to be able to come to media and announce. Wow. Well, they don't think it's an isolated event. They think it's an isolated event. But let me put this up here for you guys to watch. I mean, we're not monetized. Might as well use it to our advantage, right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
Home with the black shutters here on Springfield Road in the small community of Ballard has changed hands many times since 2014. But 9 years ago, 16-year-old Samantha and her mother, Kathy Netherland, were calling it home. And it's where they were murdered on April 21st of that year. State Trooper Scotty Sharp, then a detective, was on scene.
It's disturbing. Any case that you work, that you see violence. Evil is evil.
In fact, to investigators, it just seemed personal rather than a random act. But Kathy Netherland was a well-liked special ed elementary school teacher, and Samantha, a member of the Bardstown High School academic team and chorus, was just a 10th grader. The questions of not only who, but why have haunted investigators for almost a decade.
I cannot stress how many man hours these investigators put on this case, and they eat, sleep, and breathe it.
Now, about a week after the murder, state police released an image of the car they believed the suspect was driving. It was a black Chevy Impala captured by their surveillance video at this gas station about a half mile from the Netherlands home. At the time, they believed that could solve the murders, but nothing ever came of it.
So it is disappointing. But again, that's not going to deter us from doing what we need to do.
Trooper Sharp, now the public information officer at Post 4, says he thinks about the case often and about justice.
There's nothing more that I want before I leave this job is to be able to ask all the media to come in for us to make an announcement, and that would be a great thing.
Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
All right. So there you guys have at least a little bit of insight into this. I actually, oh crap. Not good. Shoot. That kind of really sucked. Do I have it up there? I do not. Dad, burn it. I found exit 34. It took me like an hour. It literally took me like an hour to find exit 34. Sorry, our map is running. I don't know why this thing can't handle both of these. Oops, I didn't want to save that. Shit. Excuse my language. Let me remove that. Delete. Yeah. So I followed this stupid road all the way down until I found exit 34 just to put it up on the screen, just to show you. And I had to reset my computer because I told you I was having some technical issues. And it popped all the windows back up, but apparently my map window didn't keep, and it went back to the pulled out version on Google Maps. So you guys don't get to see it. I'll wait until tomorrow. I'll get it tomorrow, though. I'll get it tomorrow. The only other things that we really have to talk about is really not a whole lot. I mean, we're starting to see the connection. So when we started out this whole process 2 months ago, and we ran our 2 stories on this case, it was focused around Brooke and Crystal's relationship. Again, it wasn't until days later that the state prosecutor, shocked everyone with claims that Nick Houck could be responsible for Tommy Ballard. That I don't think anybody was expecting that prosecutor to say. That was literally the last thing anybody thought that prosecutor was going to say. So now we're looking, we've got Joseph Lawson to be arrested, which I think ratted on something. They must have found something because Brooks was the next person arrested, and they must have found something else that led to the arrest of Steven Lawson. So now you've got the Lawson, the father and the son, and Brooks in jail. But it was months ago, and I mean months ago, that the prosecutor talked about Nick Houck being involved with Tommy's murder. But it was it was almost a decade. It was July of 2015. What was that, 8 years ago? He was being questioned in connection with Crystal Rogers' case because his trunk lit up like a freaking Smurf. So now you've got Potts of the family, Nick, now involved in 2 homicides. Involved with 2 homicides. One that it appears that he may have actually pulled the trigger, and the other one, it seems like he was the cover-up guy. He helped him move the body. Now, what if we find out that both Brooks and Nick and the Lawsons are involved with taking out Jason Ellis to cover up Brooks' money-making scheme that they were probably all involved in? Think about it. Nick's shift, 4 to 2. I bet you a lot of burglaries happened on Nick's watch. Just saying. Something's going on. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks. It was great having you here. Usually we do 2 hours, but we've got a lot to go on with this, and we're going to open the panel up. I really haven't had a day off this week, so we're going to open up the panel or open up the phones tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6:30, we'll have that. Tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning or at night or both. We'll gauge the audience, but I'll see. Oh, wait, tomorrow morning. Let me tell you guys all while you're here. Tomorrow morning, we will not be live. My first live will probably be around 12:30 tomorrow. 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll have our normal 6. And then, of course, on Wednesday, it's back to 6:30 and 6:30. I've been liking kind of coming here at lunchtime because I've been able to, talk about a separate case. And I'm working on a case right now, getting some extra information on it. And it's this case out of Illinois. And it's this horrific mom. She's 37 years old. She really doesn't look it. And she just pled guilty to killing her 8-year-old child. So I'm kind of looking into this case, and this was a really, really horrible and brutal way. So I thought we would go over this a little bit. Since this channel's not monetized, I can really talk about and do what I want. So I'd like to have some more sensitive topics coming on. And this is one that's a sensitive topic. And I just wanted to dive into this. She's facing 20 to 100 years for the killing of her son. And this was a horrific, it was heartbreaking. The 8-year-old was only 30 pounds. And there were signs telling people not to feed him. Like it was horrific. It was really, really horrific. Court tomorrow, not today, Betty. Oh, yes, I know. I got up. It was Monday, and I remember looking at the calendar and counting it. I know it was the 12th. I just thought today was the 12th until I looked at the calendar and realized today was the 11th. So I'm ultra prepared for tomorrow, obviously. And so we will be back here at like noon. If I can come early, just be on the lookout. If you guys have not subbed, please sub up. Be on the lookout for my live, because I don't really know. It's just going to be after court. I don't know how long court's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a 20-minute case conference, if it's going to be an hour case conference. I don't know if we're going to be arguing motions at this case conference. Like, I really don't know what we're going to be there, if it's just going to be 15 minutes or if it's going to be an hour. But I'm prepared either way. However it goes tomorrow, I'm prepared to write it out. So we'll be good. I've got all my stuff right here. Let me take the background off. I'm so tired. I am tired today. I got to be honest with you. See, I got I got all my stuff right here. Here, I got a nice little candle for some ambiance, right? Just chilling back here, doing some work, getting it done. You know, I work hard for my money, and they keep stealing my money. They keep stealing my content for money, and then they try to take my money away because they don't like anybody on here making YouTube, but making any kind of money on YouTube but them, right? And actually, it's not even them; it's one. Like if you're her friend and you make $1, she's gonna send the hit squad out you and take your channel out. Who needs enemies with friends like that? Hey, you ain't her bitch. Just saying. Right? You know, I'm getting delusional when I start going to farm animals. Oh, Lord. I love pushing buttons. Where's my bullshit button? Bullshit level, DEFCON 5. There we go. We don't have a Bullhorn Betty channel until we have the bullshit button coming out, because it gets deep over here. It gets deep, and it's not from us. It's not from us. What else we got? Oh, I got that. Hey, anybody home? Anybody home? Hey, haters! Anything upstairs? That's God knocking. He says, let me in your heart. He said he'll come in if you just open the door. That's all, folks. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, guys, but that's where we're at. So I'm going to probably do this case probably at noon unless something else pops up. I got a lot of stuff here on Crystal Rogers, so I'm just going to save it all, and we're going to keep just coming back to this because I really do believe, like Jason Ellis, I didn't see it at first. I mean, we've been sitting here for a few days scratching our heads saying, hey, how is this fitting in? But I feel organized crime here, and ripping off businesses and storage units. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That story, we don't know if it's believable. It's not corroborated by anybody, but is it not? I mean, obviously they're investigating it so much so the IRS showed up. It's got to have something there. The IRS surely was there, and the IRS don't show up unless they're owed some stinking money. Like if you were, laundering money and stuff, right? And you're kicking over businesses and storage units for a profit. I'm sorry. This is the bad thing. You a drug dealer? Set up an LLC. Pay the government its damn taxes. You'll never be busted again. They don't care what you do. Just pay your fair share. And I'm not lying. Right? They don't care if we boost these storage units. They're your co-conspirator. They'll ride with you. They're down like 4 flat tires. You and the IRS are like, hey, you can go kick over grandma. We don't give a shit. Just pay us our fair share. Give me the 25%. It's freaking extortion. It's no joke. It's no joke. Government's an evil thing. Government's an evil thing, right? But they're your co-conspirator too. They'll be like, we don't care what you do, just pay your fair share. And it's not even your fair share, right? Right? It's not even your fair share. It's like over your fair share. It's like, hey, get some KY and get it nice and slick, because this is gonna hurt, right? They're the sharks. The sharks. I need to stop. All right, that's it. There you go. Now that's some entertainment. That's some entertainment right there. Okay, I know. Oh, I know. So a unicorn was asking, can they use sonar? Yeah. And maybe they have. Maybe that's how they've identified some of these pockets. We don't know. She might have been moved a couple times. Like I just see them putting her on the property and putting a whole bunch of shit on top of her just to get past the whole, they know the cops are going to come out there, poke around because she was last seen there, but they just need something just to get past that. It's just like, I don't really, and there's so many people that say that they don't believe she ever left that property. Mom's farm. They don't believe Crystal ever left that property. They believe that she is on that property. Now, we know that they're digging big holes in the ground in certain spots around there, in Nelson County or whatever county it is. And I got to tell you that doesn't necessarily mean that's her. It could be evidence. It could be the gun. It could be the cleanup stuff. It could be a barrel. It could be a number of things. They may have put her in a barrel and took her somewhere and dug her deep in the ground. I really don't know. I don't know. There's a reason why they're digging so deep, but there's so many people that just don't believe she ever got off that property. Can they use sonar? I don't know. I don't know how deep that sonar stuff goes. I've never looked into it. I've got to think at this point, if they can use it, they probably have, especially since FBI is on the scenes. That opens up a whole bunch of resources. I keep looking at this case and saying, okay, this is a small town of 13,000 or less, and they've got 5 unsolved homicides in a small little area. It gives you, cause for pause, right? It gives you cause for pause. And then you look at it and you got to realize this is a small community of only 13,000. There's only so many taxpayers. Okay. When you have only so many taxpayers, you can only do so much. Otherwise, you're taxing your entire community out of the water, and they can't even afford to live there because they're too busy paying taxes. So why am I giving you all this spiel about taxes? Because what I'm trying to say is they probably don't have the budget for 5 unsolved homicides. That's what I'm saying. It costs money to run a homicide investigation. It costs a lot of money to prosecute a homicide investigation. And so these are the real stuff that facing our communities, our cities, our counties, our states, right? Funding. So I think it might be one of those things that we have a funding issue, right? I feel like we have a funding issue, and that might have prevented some of the work, because unless they rise to the level of, Kansas State or Kentucky State Police, or rise to the level of FBI involvement, they're on the hook for paying it themselves. That's great resources when you can get those resources. When your case rises to the level of exercising those resources, it's nice because it takes the burden off that small community to process, especially evidence. Evidence is very costly to process. DNA is very costly to process. And people don't want to hear that they don't have it in the budget, right? And even when they send it to the state crime lab, it still takes a lot of time to get back. So I think that might have a little bit to do with it. I really think that that's the problem with Summer Wells' case in Hawkins County, but they do have the resources. But I think there's too much corruption in that community. I feel like it's almost a Gilgo situation with the prior commissioner, where he was so corrupt he wouldn't work with the FBI, and the Gilgo Beach went unsolved for a decade because of his own corruption that he didn't want the FBI uncovering. I almost feel like that there's so much corruption in Hawkins County that they don't want the assistance of these outside. I mean, you listen to John Pruitt that one time, right? John Pruitt's like, all these research, I just wish they would leave me alone, let me do my job. Well, we have, and you not doing your damn job. I mean, I haven't seen you do it. There's no updates coming from your Calvary over there, John Pruitt, Ronnie Lawson. But we're seeing that your son, Ronnie Lawson's son, can play with kids, do all terrible things to kids and get a slap on the wrist. Meanwhile, their resident down the road has a few photos and gets 8 times the length of jail time, as opposed to Ronnie Lawson's son that actually engaged in the activity, which I find disgusting and deplorable. They've got a problem in that area. They have a very ungodly and unnatural problem in the area of Hawkins County. We've seen multiple politicians arrested for drugs, money, just a host of just garbage crap They have no, they get put. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. I just, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like the blind leading the blind out there. So I don't know what's going on in the Summer Wells case, but the corruption, I feel like there's a hint of corruption there. I feel like that Hawkins County is broke, and I feel like they're not utilizing the resources that they need, because I think they're trying to hide a bunch of their shenanigans that should not be going on. I think Ronnie Lawson is violating the Freedom of Information Act. If you want me to be honest with you, I've never in my life heard that a sheriff gets all Freedom of Information Act requests to either approve or disapprove. I've never heard of that in my life, but I heard Ronnie Lawson does that. I heard that. So I have some problems here. I have a lot of questions, but we'll keep working through this Crystal Rogers case. We'll keep working at Summer Wells. I don't know why I'm so itchy. I think my skin is like dry with this dry air right now, and I'm so itchy. My skin, I need to lotion my skin. I need lotion. If anybody, I don't know why every time I say that I get like the silence of the lamb. Lotion the skin. Save my dog! My dog! What are you doing, lady? Okay, I'm gonna stop. All right. You guys have a wonderful evening. It was great hanging out with you. Don't forget to rock it out with your coffee beans out. Jeez, I can't even remember my taglines going out. I'm so tired. I literally am exhausted. So what I'm going to say to you guys is have a good night. Please be kind to people. Please find ways to give back in your community. It is a holiday season, and I hope you guys have an amazing... Dolly, are you listening to Buddy's Needs? Oh. Who's hotter, Nick or Brooke? Oh, God. I don't like either one of them. I really don't. I don't know. They're not neither one of them are my type. Neither one of them are my type. I would never date either one of them. Like, they're just, I can usually have a conversation with somebody in, like, I don't know, 5 minutes and know if I want to hang out with them, again. I don't know. It's just something. I don't know. If I don't get that vibe, man, you're going to eat my shorts, right? Eat my shorts. I am exhausted. But the thing that's keeping me good, my Skittles. I'm like eating a mess of these. Or just eating a mess of these Skittles. I never eat Skittles. At least my tongue's turning red now. How unprofessional of me. Oh, let me drink. Let me drink on here too. Hold on. I want to get that mouth rolling. Show them the professional side of Betty. Shall we? All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you sometime tomorrow. God bless.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.